Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Aylin. That's still so weird to say. My name is Aylin, and today we're going to do my August TBR. I'm pretty sure that I missed out on doing a July TBR, or if I did not stick to it because during the month of July, honestly, number one, first and foremost, a lot happened. It was not a great month for my mental health. Slowly but surely working our way through it and doing better now, but I was also moving. Anything that I thought was gonna happen, just out the window, pretty much. So August, we have a lot more structure. Everything's settled. My room is settled, so we're all good there. I have more free time is really what it is. As with the way that I did my June TBR, we are also going to do prompts in August. I just find that to be easier and it feels more like a readathon, which is more motivating for me, I think. We'll see how August goes, and then maybe I'll switch it back to the old way of traditionally putting books on my TBR and seeing whether or not I read them, because I am notorious for not reading the books that are on my TBR or that I'm supposed to be reading. So we'll just see how this month goes. We're gonna try it for one more month because June was also pretty hectic with looking for a new place to live, things like that. So let's get started with the prompts. I do have some books here which were pictured in the thumbnail that are options or things that I do really want to get to in this moment since I am such a big mood reader, but again, only time will tell. I wrote out the prompts in my journal. We're just gonna read them off, and I have books here that are options of what I think will fulfill each of these prompts, but obviously subject to change. That's why we're doing prompts. The first prompt is a thriller. I really want to read some thrillers. I've been in the mood. I was in the mood for all of July for thrillers. I want to read so many of them because I have so many of them, especially from Book of the Month. So I want to kind of make my way through that and have my thriller shelf be not a whole TBR shelf, which is kind of what it is now. So I only grabbed a couple of thrillers because I'm not fully sure of what I will want to read. I have a couple here. The first one is The Bombay Prince. This is a mystery of 1920s India by Sujata Massey. This one gives me more cozy mystery vibes than anything, but it fits best in this category, so we're putting it here. I really want to read this one. This one is about Praveen, who was the lawyer of this client, obviously, that ends up passing away, and a few days prior to this client passing away, I don't know if they're male or female, Praveen had a client named Freni or Freeney, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, that a few days prior to her passing had confided something and updated her will or something like that with Praveen that makes Praveen think that maybe Freeney's death was not an accident, so she begins to investigate it. So I picked this one up on a whim because this cover is freaking beautiful and it sounds so interesting, so I have very high hopes for it. I'm really excited for this one. The other one is one that I had seen and I wasn't super intrigued in, and then I picked it up and I was a million times yes. And that is Portrait of a Thief by Grace D. Lee. I always want to say Gracie, but this is about Will, who is a Chinese American attending Harvard, and I believe he is a history major. And one day while he is working at this art museum, a bunch of pieces get stolen, and he picks up a super small figurine, and one of the art thieves notices, and I believe, because I read the first chapter, it's also super short chapters, which is very intriguing to me. I love a good short chapter thriller. He joins this ragtag team of art thieves that take pieces from the US that the US had originally taken from other countries, if that makes sense. So if the US were to take something from Africa of historical value and then we put it in a museum and claim it as ours and say no, you can't have this, they're taking the piece that we originally took and bringing it back, essentially, is what I have gathered. And I'm not saying that we haven't ever done that. I'm sure we definitely have. That was just a random example that I could think of. I'm super excited. I think that this one's gonna be so good. I feel like I've heard pretty positive things, but then I think that it might just be that I've heard people excited for it and not necessarily reviews. Either way, I think this is going to be amazing and probably one of the first books that I start in the month of August, because how cool is that freaking synopsis? The book starts off with a police interview, accusing Will of something he didn't do. Well, he kinda did, but he wasn't one of the main thieves. Then another one that is really, really important to me is for more than half of the books that I read in the month of August to be diverse, whether it be from like LGBTQIA authors, authors of different nationalities, or of varying abilities, disabilities, different things like that. That's one of my goals every single year, is to read more and more diverse than I did the year prior. And I'm doing okay this year, but I'm still not super happy with it. So I want to make a very conscious effort to be reading more diversely this month, and honestly just for the rest of the year, but I thought I would put it on here as a prompt. So this one, there's not like specific books that I have in mind. I mean, either of these work, and then I have other books that I grabbed as well that would work for this, but like for instance on my thriller shelf I could pick up some like Family of Liars, or I could pick up The Rumor Game by Sona Charaporcha and Danielle Clayton. That's who it is. So just like things like that. The next prompt is to be reading fantasy. I have so much fantasy on my shelves, and it's not that I want to get rid of it necessarily. I just want to, again, for the millionth time this year, be making sure that the books on my shelves fully represent me as a reader, and kind of like weed out the books that I don't want anymore, so that I can make room for the books that I do really want. I have a ton of fantasy on my shelf. I think this entire bookcase is fantasy, and then we have some other shelves sprinkled in that are also fantasy, which is just a lot. So I have a few different options for this. I think we're going to read some TikTok books this month. That's the plan anyway, but I would be remiss if I did not, what's the word I'm looking for? Mention the fact that I am currently rereading the Shadowhunter Chronicles in its entirety. I'm currently on City of Glass. I could potentially finish that today, so I will be reading something by Cassie Clare, which that's urban fantasy, so that fulfills this prompt, but we have some others on this list as well. The first one that I have to finish in August, I fully planned on finishing it in July, but I didn't plan on July being as chaotic of a month as it really was, and that is Six Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. I am so far in this book. I am literally on page 291. Stasia, please don't kill me. This is, I think, Stasia's favorite book of the year. I'm liking it, but I haven't had like this huge pull to continue to pick it up, so we're putting it on this TBR. It is a must. I have to finish this book by August. I am enjoying it. This one is about Shiori. Yeah, this book is about our main character, Princess Shiori. Shiori has magic, and one day she like discovers that her kind of evil stepmother also has magic, but of the bad variety. And when her stepmother finds out that Shiori knows and that Shiori has magic of her own, she not only punishes Shiori, but she also punishes her 6 older brothers by turning them into cranes, and puts a curse on Shiori where if Shiori speaks, for every word that she speaks, one of her brothers will die. So Shiori cannot speak until this curse is lifted, so she has to work with some dragons as well as a prince from a neighboring country to undo this curse and bring down her stepmother. It is really interesting, and like giving that synopsis, I am like re-intrigued, and it's sparking my interest all over again, which is good. I just need to remember that like I'm reading this and I need to pick it back up again. I think that my problem is more so that I haven't been physically reading much this year. I've been reading on my Kindle, and I have been reading audiobooks, but I haven't physically read very many books, so we need to change that. Then another one that I picked up forever ago and I was loving, so I just need to pick it back up again, is The Poppy War by R.F. Kong. I love this, and I'm also super excited because R.F. Kong has a new book coming out this year in a brand new series, and it's like a dark academia. It's Babel, I believe. I want to read that so bad, but I want to like read one of her other books first, especially because I have the first 2 on my shelves. This is a retelling of the Poppy War, and it is brutal, and it has shaman magic in it. It is so cool. I got to part 2, I think, before I put it down. I was loving this, so I just need to pick it back up again. Like I said, it's so good. It's so dark. I know that there are a lot of trigger warnings to it, and I haven't really gotten to very many of them. It just has to happen. Now, the TikTok books that I was mentioning. Zodiac Academy by Caroline Peckham and Susan Valenti. I have the first 2 books on my shelves. I want to buy the rest of them without having read them, so we need to read at least the first one. This one is, I guess, about these. I heard Brittany from Brittany the Bibliophile like talk about it in her mid-year book freakout tag, which is coming. It will be super late, but that video is coming, I promise. It's a set of twins. They're really struggling in life. They like aren't doing super well, and one day someone comes to get them and says, you are the princesses, like the long lost princesses of like this whole other world. Come get your inheritance and go to this Zodiac Academy. You have to in order to receive your inheritance. And because they're struggling so much, the only thing that they care about is that they have an inheritance to a whole kingdom. So they go to this like other dimension, like different world type thing where they have powers, I think, and it's all elemental powers. And most people only have one, maybe two, but they have all four. That's all I really know about it. Sounds interesting. Everybody's obsessed with it, even though the writing is like not great. I think I'll like it too. I'm pretty easy to please. That's also why From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout is on this list. I was liking this when I read it originally. I started it back in like 2020 or 2021, and I got 100 pages in and put it down. But they were such an easy 100 pages to read that like this should be no problem. I need to read this series as quickly as possible because the fact that I have 4 of the books on my shelves and I've not read any of them, like any of the series, absolutely inexcusable. And the last fantasy that I have to mention is Lore by Alexandra Bracken. I've been wanting to read this one since it came out, and for whatever reason, I literally couldn't tell you, I haven't picked it up. This is a Greek mythology retelling. I love a good Greek mythology telling, and I'm pretty sure Athena plays a pretty big part in it. It takes place in New York City. It's like an urban fantasy. I've seen like mixed reviews about it, but I think I'm going to love it. I love Alexandra Bracken, so I just have to. All right, we had to do a brief intermission because dog mom duty called. My dog puked on the carpet. So I think I was done talking about lore, so we will just move on to the next prompt, which is Kindle Unlimited books. Pretty open, pretty vague. I just want to make sure that I am utilizing my Kindle Unlimited subscription. So some of the books on that list that I really want to read are Heavy Crown by Sophie Lark, Twisted Love by Anna Huang, the Mind F series by S.T. Abbey. Oh yeah, another one that I really want to read on KU is Guild by Raven Kennedy, as well as Corrupt by Penelope Douglas, reading the Devil's Night series. I think that could be really fun. Those are some of my KU options. Then I want to make sure that I am reading physically, so we have plenty of options here for that. I just want to make sure that I am reading physically and also that I am reading books that I physically own so that I can have a greater percentage of my shelves be read as opposed to unread, because that's pretty unbalanced right now and by a landslide, which I'm not happy with. Then I again want to make sure that I am taking full advantage of all of my subscriptions, which means reading every like available book that I can on Scribd throughout the month. So one of those options that I know I want to get to, Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. I own a copy of this. I love Frederick Bachman and I love his writing, so I want to make sure that I am reading books from authors that I know I'm going to love. His books always make me cry and so emotional, so I have high hopes for this one. I also own a copy of My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry, so I want to maybe potentially read that one as well. So I just want to read some Frederick Bachman and some other audiobooks. I'll probably listen to a lot of the Shadowhunter Chronicles on audiobook, which will help with that because there are a lot of those. Then I want to make sure that I am reading some manga this month because one of my goals every single year is to have 0 unread manga books on my shelves, and that has never successfully happened. So this year we're really going to try, and I'm making the conscious effort starting in August as opposed to December, which is what I normally do. So a couple options that I have are Blue Flag volumes 6 and 7. These are the last volumes that I physically own that I need to read. I also have plenty of Junji Ito. I have some Full Metal Alchemist volumes. So I think that there will probably be a manga reading vlog that you can look forward to. I have a couple of ideas for how to go about it, but very excited about that. And I want to read at least 1 to 3 volumes. If more happen, amazing, but at least 1. So the last prompt on this list is to read and watch at least like 1 adaptation. I don't know why this is on this list, to be honest with you. It just sounds like fun and relaxing, and again, I have a few options in mind with this one. So like The Summer I Turned Pretty, I feel like that could be a really good time, especially because I've seen such amazing things about the show. And I really enjoy Jenny Han. I read her To All the Boys series like my senior year of high school, and I loved those books, so I want to read her other series as well. It could be fun to kind of hate watch City of Bones because I've heard only awful things about both the movie and the TV show, so I could pick one of those. Bridgerton is an option. Again, the options are endless. I just kind of want to incorporate watching something because I don't watch a lot of TV, but I do find it relaxing. So the only other book that I want to read this month that I didn't mention, I guess this could go for like a physical book for that prompt, is My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. This one is one that, again, I started at the end of 22, beginning of 2021, and I literally got halfway through it and just set it down. This book is a dark read. It's very easy to read in that the writing is very accessible and like it's a very marathonable writing style, so like it's an easy book to read in that regard. In every other regard, giving context, it's not. It's a very hard book to read. It is about a girl who was groomed by a man for a really long time, and it's told in dual POV, so you see those scenes where he fully took advantage of her and like made her believe that they were in a relationship, and then years later when she's dealing with the aftermath and the trauma and he is potentially going to trial for all of this and she might have to testify. It's a hard book. The content is very alarming. Look up content warnings. But I was enjoying is the wrong word, but I was liking this book when I was reading it, so I want to finally finish it. I have a pretty good recollection of what was happening in this book when I from what I can remember, so I don't know how much of it I will reread just because, like I said, the subject matter is tough, but I may have to restart it and put myself through all of that hurt all over again. Another thing that I didn't mention is that or another series that I didn't mention, or author I guess would be the right way to say that, is I want to read something by Chloe Lees. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, I'm so sorry. Particularly her Bergman Brothers series. I've seen so many amazing things about that, and I've heard that there's really good disability rep in them, so I really want to read those. But anyway, that's actually it. We're cutting me off before I continue to add to this mountainous TBR that I already have. But I love you all so much. I appreciate you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really hope you're doing well, reading, mentally, and otherwise, and I really hope to see you all in my next video. Bye, guys.